What is going on, NFL fans? Welcome back to the Jay All Day Show. I have a great NFL preview for Week 1 for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears taking on the Tennessee Titans. Man, this is going to be a really great game. It's being played in Chicago. A lot of moving parts on both of these teams. Let's start off with the head coaching job for the Tennessee Titans. We have a great coach, Brian Callahan, coming over from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's also bringing his dad, offensive line coach Bill Callahan, coming over from the Cleveland Browns. And all of a sudden, this Tennessee Titans offense could be pretty formidable. They brought in Calvin Ridley. They already have DeAndre Hopkins. They got Tyler Boyd now. Very, very interesting. Derrick Henry is gone, unfortunately, but they did bring in Tony Pollard. This offense could be very, very fun to watch. Then, let's talk about the Chicago Bears just a little bit. What a draft they had. Incredible offseason. They brought in Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift to go along with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. Then they drafted Caleb Williams, number 1, Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington, at pick 9. Who wins this game? Let's break down these rosters, see where each of these teams have their advantages, and who I ultimately think wins this game. All right, NFL fans, we're going to first start out with the draft picks for the Chicago Bears and the Tennessee Titans. See what's coming onto these rosters. We're going to start with the Chicago Bears first. How could we not, right? 2 first-round picks, 2 monster college players, and Caleb Williams, the quarterback from USC, and Rome Odunze, one of the best wide receivers, and a loaded wide receiver class from Washington. Excellent players. They had a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and a 5th-round pick. They went offensive tackle, Kieran Amangaji. I watched this tape. He's so-so in my opinion. Torrey Taylor, a punter in the 4th round. That's a head-scratcher for sure, especially when you only have 5 picks. And then in the 5th round, they went edge Austin Booker, right? Caleb Williams, I mean, he's one of the best quarterback prospects to come out of college football in years, probably since Trevor Lawrence, right? The only thing that concerns me about Caleb Williams is he going to be able to keep it together in between the ears, right? He kind of shut out the media at USC when they weren't playing that well. What's going to happen in Chicago when they go on a 2, 3, 4 game skid, right? Rookie quarterbacks, for the most part, struggle in year 1. There's been anomalies like CJ Stroud. There's some recency bias, but for the most part, it's hard for these young quarterbacks to adapt to a much faster, more physical NFL game. So how is Caleb Williams going to hold up mentally? I think he can do it, but there is some reservations from me because of what happened in college. And Rome Odunze, he might be the steal of the draft, man. The fact that he was the 3rd wide receiver picked is crazy. And I would say in 19 out of the last 20 drafts, he'd be the number 1 guy off the board. It's not even close. I actually like him a little more than Marvin Harrison Jr. in my opinion. But Malik Neighbors was my favorite wide receiver in this draft class because he's a dog, man. He's physical. He's got a great catch point. He can run all the routes on the tree. But all these guys are super talented. Rome Odunze is a little more limited, in my opinion, with his route tree, but he should be a great player nonetheless, especially when he's paired up with DJ Moore, who had like 1,300 yards last year, and Keenan Allen, who's one of the best 3rd down receivers in the NFL. Let's move on to the Titans draft. J.C. Latham, number 7, might be a slight overdraft. He's a young kid, but he is a monster of a human being. Absolute monster. 6'6", 342 pounds. He's a prototypical tackle in the NFL, man. He's got pretty long arms. Solid player from Alabama. I like that pick. DeAndre Sweat, one of the biggest nose tackles / D tackles in this draft. 6'5", over 350 pounds. The dude is a beast. I like Cedric Way, the linebacker from North Carolina, too. Not a great defense there, but he was a pretty good player. Then they went corner, wide receiver, safety. I did like James Williams from Miami. I think he's a steal in the 7th round. And they went Harrell from Michigan, the edge. Anytime you can bring in a national champion in the 7th round, I think that's a great pick. All right, let's break down these rosters a little more and see what roster we like better. All right, Bears fans, let's do a brief overview of what happened this offseason, who moved on, what additions and re-signed players came into the Chicago Bears. Moved on was Deontay Foreman, the running back. Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver, and Justin Jones, the interior defensive lineman. Not huge losses there. They added Coleman Shelton, the center, DeAndre Swift, the running back from the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a great year in Philly, Gerald Everett to bring in that 12 personnel type of guy to pair with Cole Knapp. Jalen Johnson re-signed on the massive deal. Unbelievable talent at the cornerback position. They brought in Kevin Byard, okay safety. They also added Keenan Allen to the mix, right? So let's go over this offense and defense and see kind of where the additions are, who's starting where. First, we're going to start out on the defensive side of the ball. This is the front seven right here. We got Montez Sweat, Billings, Dexter is in, Justin Jones is out. That's about a push. Then DeMarcus Walker, the linebackers, okay. TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, and Jack Sanborn. All right, guys. Now we're going to flip on the other side of the ball. Look at all the upgrades on the offensive side of the ball for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, we think, is going to be an upgrade over Justin Fields. He absolutely should be. He just has a lot more talent. I think Justin Fields kind of got a shitty bag from what he was dealing with and the team that he was dealt in this card. DeAndre Swift is definitely better than Deontay Foreman, in my opinion. And the backup running back who's going to kind of be played and paired with Swift is Khalil Herbert. DJ Moore on the outside, absolute stud, over 1,300 yards. 8 touchdowns. The dude is an absolute monster. Keenan Allen, he's been one of the best, most consistent wide receivers in the NFL for the past decade. Serious upgrade over Darnell Mooney. And then Rome Odunze is probably going to, I don't know, they're going to rotate these guys around. They have a new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. He kind of was under Sean McVay and Pete Carroll, so he's probably going to go a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Actually, he's probably going to mix up because they got 2 really good tight ends as well. I think it's going to be really hard to game plan for this Bears team. They could go 11 personnel. They could go 12 personnel. Really mix it up. And Cole Kmet, the tight end, really, really good player. All right, let's take a look at this offensive line. 4 out of the 5 starters are back for the Chicago Bears. Cody Whitehair is out, but Coleman Shelton is in. That's pretty much a push in my opinion. Hopefully Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones can protect Caleb Williams because he's going to need protection. And it is tough for offensive linemen with a new quarterback, especially someone who likes to create plays outside the pocket. You never know quite where they are, and it's going to be a little bit of adjustment period. And last, we're going to talk about the Bears secondary. Kevin Byard is in, upgrade over Eddie Jackson. We'll see. Byard is just okay in my opinion. It's a slight upgrade, not a huge upgrade over Eddie Jackson. Then Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Johnson is one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL. He's an excellent player, and he's going to be paired up with Kyler Gordon and Tyreek Stevenson. We'll see how those other guys come along. A good Bears defense, not a great defense yet. So we'll see how that defense fares against a very formidable Tennessee Titans offense. There are a ton of moving parts on this Tennessee Titans team. It's absolutely crazy. New head coach, new offensive line coach, new defensive coordinator, Denard Wilson. There's all kinds of craziness going on with the Tennessee Titans, but I think it's for the better. Brewer, Shahir, Hubbard, Autry, Henry, Fulton, Murphy, Bunting, and Terrell Edmonds are all moving on. Here are some re-signed players and some additions. Calvin Ridley going to slot in nice at that number 2 wide receiver. They added Awuzie, Murray Jr., Cushenberry, very underrated signing at the center position. Mason Rudolph to be the backup quarterback. Westbrook, Akine Charles, Joseph Day, and Tony Pollard, and Tyler Boyd. A lot of free agents coming into this Tennessee Titans crew. It should be a lot of fun to watch. I'm really excited to watch this wide receiver crew. All right, let's take a look at this depth chart real quick. We're going to start with the secondary. We got Elijah Molden and Amani Hooker and Jamal Adams at the safety. They just signed Jamal Adams, so is Hooker or Adams going to start? We'll have to see how that plays out in camp. And a huge upgrade at the cornerback position with L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie. Monster addition. L'Jarius Sneed is a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. He's an excellent player. Roger McCreary and Trey Avery are going to be mixed in at the nickel spots and kind of play a little bit on this defense as well. All right, let's talk about this offensive line a little bit. I think this Lloyd Cushenberry signing's kind of going under the radar. He's a huge upgrade over Aaron Brewer, in my opinion. And then J.C. Latham should be an upgrade over Andre Dillard, who's been a dumpster fire. He was horrible with the Eagles, even worse last year. At right guard, we have a little bit of a competition between Shaquille Charles and Dylan Runze. We'll see how that plays out as camp moves forward. And then, obviously, Tony Pollard is a downgrade over Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is still a beast, in my opinion. I just don't think the Titans wanted to pay him all that money. And then obvious upgrades, Calvin Ridley over Chris Moore and Tyler Boyd in the slot over Nick Westbrook-Akine. Then we got Chigo Okonkwo, the tight end, who actually had a really good year last year. And Will Levis, I think, takes a huge leap forward in year 2. Let's bounce back to the front 7. We have a downgrade with Joseph Day over Danico Autry, who's out of town. Devondre Sweat, the second-round pick, is an absolute animal. Definite upgrade there. And everything else is pretty much the same. Kenneth Murray is in. Al Shahir is out. Al Shahir was one of the highest tackling machines in the NFL. Kenneth Murray's got big shoes to fill, but I think it's an ultimate push in my opinion. Now, I want to take a look at the depth charts and how these offenses and defenses compare with one another and see who has the advantages where. Matching up with the Tennessee Titans offense, we got Tony Pollard in the backfield. Will Levis, I think, takes a step forward, but man, that DeAndre Hopkins-Johnson matchup is going to be epic, right? So, Stevenson really has to step up, right? Because Calvin Ridley is going to be looking to get fed in this game, as well as Tyler Boyd. I want to move this into the nickel defense because I think the Titans are going to run a lot of 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers. So Gordon is going to be matched up against Boyd and Stevenson against Ridley. I don't know how much Hopkins is going to get open in this game. So Ridley and Boyd are really going to have big games if they want to win this game. Tony Pollard as well. But their offensive line is not that good. I'm hoping Bill Callahan can really coach up this offensive line for the Titans. And if he can, they are susceptible to the run a little bit, in my opinion. Not the best defensive front for the Chicago Bears. That's where I want to attack them. I want to control the run game in this game on week 1 if I'm the Tennessee Titans, guys. That's where you attack them. They're pretty good at the safety position. Great on the outside with that Hopkins-Johnson's pretty much a wash, right? So if you're the Titans, Ridley and Boyd need to show up, and you got to establish a run with Tony Pollard, and hopefully he's not cooked, and hopefully this offensive line can block a little bit better than they did last year, because if they don't give Will Levis time and they can't run the ball, the Bears are going to eat them up all day long. Let's flip it around. Now, let's take a look at this defense for the Tennessee Titans. Big upgrades on the outside with Awuzie. He wasn't great last year, but the 2 years before that, Awuzie was pretty good, so I'm not super concerned about him. I'm assuming Awuzie is probably going to be matched up against Odunze, and then Snead is probably going to travel with DJ Moore, I would guess. Let's change this back to the nickel defense and see where McCreary fits in. I guess Allen will be on the slot position, right? They're probably going to mix up these wide receiver packages all game. This offense on paper looks really, really hard for the Tennessee Titans to handle, man. There's not a ton of superstars on this Tennessee Titans defense that can kind of shut down this offense. It's really going to come down to, can they get pressure on Caleb Williams? Is Caleb Williams going to have the yips in that first game? They're going to have to blitz. Their new defensive coordinator, Denard Wilson, runs a very aggressive scheme. He likes to kind of mix it up, do a lot of disguised blitzes, make it look like you're blitzing on the offensive line, then dropping back in the coverage. He really likes to mix up his look. So he's going to try to confuse Caleb Williams in this game and force some turnovers. And I think that's the only way the Titans can win this game, is if they force Caleb Williams into bad throws and make him throw bad passes in a lot of coverage and force some turnovers, maybe get some sacks, couple interceptions. That's how they win this game, is getting in Caleb Williams' face, punching him in the mouth, and welcoming him into the NFL. So who do I ultimately think wins this game between the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears. I was kind of leaning towards the Titans. I like the 4.5 points if you're a spread better. But the more I break down these rosters and see the matchups, I really, really think the Chicago Bears can win this game. I think it's close. It's going to be like 23-20 for the Chicago Bears. The way they match up on paper, I think it's going to be tough for the Titans to guard them. Their offensive line is still a work in progress. Their wide receiver team looks a lot better than it has in years past. But if you can't block, you can't throw the ball down the field. And I think the Bears defense, which isn't great, but they're pretty good, does just enough to kind of disrupt Will Levis, maybe force a couple turnovers, and get a W. I'm going with the Bears, 23-20. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like these type of videos? Do you agree with my thoughts on this game, or am I absolute dipshit? I would love to know in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next game. Peace!